The internet is a confusing place, especially when it comes to how much protein you should eat. And when people approach a keto, low carb, or carnivore diet, it can get even more confusing because you have gurus and experts and doctors on differing sides. You have some people that say too much protein stimulates mTOR and will cause cancer and all kinds of other health issues. And you have some that say you need at least 1 ounce of protein per pound of body weight. Which one is actually true? So I've changed my mind yet again for myself, and I want to talk about it here in this video. Welcome back. My name is Sarah. I am known as Carnivore Yogi. Thank you so much for being here and clicking on today's video. If you don't mind, please hit that like button while you're here. So let's talk about this protein thing. Now, if you've been around my channel for a little while, you've seen me really go all over the gamut with this one. When I first started a carnivore diet, I was eating at least 1 ounce of protein per pound of desired body weight, which for me is about 145 pounds. I'm pretty tall. So that's a good body weight for me, and I was eating that much and probably more. I was probably hitting towards 200 grams of protein per day. And for a while, that really worked well for me. Carnivore worked well for me doing that high amount of protein. I didn't really have any problems with it. I felt great, slept great, everything was great. Here's the crazy thing about the body. It tends to adapt. And sometimes if we do something for a while, the adaptations are not necessarily good. So what ended up happening to me that made me take my protein down dramatically and up my fat dramatically was that I started having issues with my blood sugar. Now, blood sugar, no matter what diet you're on, is important because it's a sign of inflammation in the body. And the blood sugar will change a little bit, but what we want to happen is for it to go up by 20, maybe 30 points max, and then come down at the end of a couple of hours after you've eaten that meal. And if you're on a keto, carnivore, or low carb diet, you really want it to stay nice and stable. We also want our fasting blood sugar numbers to be between 70 and 85 for the most part. And we want that A1C to be nice and steady, probably in the low 5s and around the upper 4s. So for me, after doing carnivore for a while, I saw my A1C go up towards that pre-diabetic range. My fasting blood sugar numbers were also in the 90s and low 100s, and they stayed that way throughout the night. So that was a little problematic to me. The physical symptoms is that I was having trouble sleeping. I started waking up a lot at night, and I started having a lot of excess urination. When I tested my kidney function, because I was concerned, I saw that my GFR was low, which is your filtration rate, and my urea was high, my nitrogen was high, all those things in my blood were high. Now, if you're curious about testing these things out for yourself, I'll put a link in the description with a company I've used. Let's Get Checked. They are one of my sponsors. So if that's something you're curious about, always check it out. The good news is once I changed up my carnivore diet, so I took the protein down and I upped the fat, that rate went to a good normal 90, and urea, nitrogen, all of that went down. But I had to take the protein down dramatically for that to happen. Now I'm talking about eating 60 grams a day. So eating 60 grams of protein a day and a lot of fat for me was not exactly the most satiating thing in the world. My autoimmune issues were staying at bay. My sleep was all right. I was feeling pretty decent, except for I was hungry. And if I ate too much protein, my blood sugar would go up. The next day, it would be a lot higher if I ended up blowing that 60 grams of protein per day. As I continued on, I found some probiotics. I started working with a company called Thrive. I did a gut health test, sent off my own gut health sample, and got custom probiotics based on my own unique sample. So once I added in the probiotics, I was able to take my protein up a little bit, which was pretty cool. So my ceiling was at that point 75 grams a day, which is better than 60, but I was still having some satiety issues. Now, I also have done a lot of interviewing, I've done a lot of talking here on this channel, and I've started learning more about the microbiome. And I think that this really does come into play when it comes to our blood sugar, our metabolism. There are certain bacteria in your gut that can cause, if you don't have them, can cause weight loss resistance. And so when I was following just a strict carnivore diet, those bacteria were a bit lower. I found I was a bit hungrier. Adding in probiotics helped a lot. So if you're curious about if probiotics will help you, it could be a solution. Again, I'm not a doctor. It may not help you at all, but it did help me to add some more protein in there, get a little bit more satiety. So this year, fast forward, I decided I wanted to start reintroducing some foods. With my research on microbiome, I was having a really hard time hanging on to my minerals. The electrolyte game just got to be a little difficult to play. So I said, you know what? And I also want some variety. So there's nothing wrong. I feel like we kind of demonize this whole, like, you want a little variety in your diet. There's nothing wrong with that at all. So I was at the place where I said, you know what, let me just add a couple things in. So I went very slowly. I've gotten a lot of comments on the channel since I've started opening up to you guys about adding foods back in, and I want to continue to be really clear about this. Me adding foods in is a slow process. It is now April. I started this process at the end of January, so it's been a few months. One new food every 3 or 4 days, right? Cooked, always cooked, not raw. I am able to eat a few salads here and there now with no problem, but at first everything was super cooked to get my gut used to it, and one thing at a time. And also low anti-nutrient veggies. I am making a video soon to show you some of those, but if you check out the video I did last week, it will talk about all the foods I'm not adding back in. So hopefully that'll give you some nice clues. But when I started adding in some cooked, low anti-nutrient plants, I noticed that I could start eating a little bit more protein and keep my blood sugar stable, which was awesome. So as I mentioned before, stable blood sugar, for you, that could look like eating some fruit. It could look like eating potatoes or other starchy carbs. You might be able to get away with that. So we're all different. That's why testing is so important. Let's Get Checked also has an A1C test. I have a continuous glucose monitor I've used with NutriSense. I'll pop that below. So lots of resources. You guys can go find these on your own. You don't have to use the resources. Those are affiliate links, so they will help support my channel. But I just want to provide resources for you if you're like, can I eat these things? Will it be okay? And I know I'm putting in so many disclaimers here. My autoimmune issues were in a really good place. I have not had big autoimmune flares since adding in these low anti-nutrient foods. So this is a highly personal decision, but I did want to add in the point that adding in those low anti-nutrient plants cooked, I was able to bump my protein up, let's say to probably around 90 without still having those blood sugar spikes. I also had more satiety. So that was a really cool thing as well, is that I just wasn't as hungry. With a high-fat carnivore diet, I was just more hungry, and it was like a big struggle for me to just try and maintain my weight. And if you know me, you know I've lost 100 pounds 3 separate times. I don't ever want to do that again. I'm probably a little bit more anal about my weight than I should be, but I don't want to constantly be struggling and saying I have to stop myself from eating because I'm still hungry. So, you know, I know in the carnivore community, there's a lot of talk about how fiber is bad for you. We don't need it. I've just found that with a little bit of fiber, I'm more satisfied. And that's just my personal experience. As I mentioned, our bodies adapt and change, so that could change for me. And if it does, I'll let you know. So this next thing that I have done within just the last 6 weeks here is I've added in HCL and digestive enzymes. Now, I did an interview with Steve Wright, who is the owner of the company that I'm using those products. I think they are amazing. I will link those below. But ever since I've added in the HCL before my meals and digestive enzymes halfway through my meals, I can eat even more protein. So that's really amazing. I'm not quite up to 145 grams a day, but I'm inching more and more up, which is awesome. My blood sugar is stable. So that's what's important to me, is the stable blood sugar, not having these crazy spikes, not being exhausted after my meals. So, okay, let's back up. I added probiotics, a little bump, a little more protein, which made me feel a little more satiety, a little better. Okay, next thing, I added in a few select plants with a little bit of fiber. Boom, I was able to add even more protein without blood sugar consequences, without higher fasting numbers. And number 3, now I'm taking HCL before my meals and digestive enzymes halfway through my meals, and I can eat even more protein. And I think a lot of us, even on a carnivore diet or keto diet, we're not necessarily absorbing all the nutrients that we're taking in. So adding these things can be really helpful. And hello, 2020 was a really stressful year. I have an interview coming out, another one with Steve Wright really soon, where we really dive into this. We really talk about this, that, you know, if you're really stressed out, your stomach acid goes way down and you lose enzymatic function. So that could be another reason why I had such a hard time last year with the excess protein, and my body just kind of crashed. I had to take it way down. But the good news is that little by little, I'm putting together, it's like this puzzle that I'm putting together. And I really love and appreciate you guys for being on this journey with me and kind of watching things grow and evolve. But little pieces of the puzzle are coming together now, and it's really cool, and I want to share. The whole reason I started my social media is like I had all these issues, the eczema, the depression, the anxiety, the bloating, the IBS, all of that, and I was like, if I don't tell people that it was so simple for me to just go carnivore, to do this diet, and all the amazing benefits that I've had, and I'm a yoga teacher, and everyone that does yoga, not everyone, but a lot of people that do yoga are vegan and vegetarian. I was like, I have to put this out there. As scary as it was, as much as I didn't want to, that's how all of this got started. So me now coming and saying, okay, I'm trying this now, this is how it's going, it's just a further evolution of that. And I know I have a lot of carnivore people that follow me, that came here because of that. I still have a lot of days where I do carnivore. I just do because it's easy, it's my default. But I do add in those plants, and I do make sure to take my HCL and my enzymes. Now, Steve, in the interview I did with him that'll come out in a couple weeks, I asked him, how long do people need to be on these products? And he said, you know, it just depends on your illness. It depends on the state of your body. It could be 3 months, 6 months, a year. If you have really bad chronic illness, a couple of years, but it's not permanent. So I'm giving my body some support, and I'm okay with it. We go down this rabbit hole of no medications, all medications are bad, and don't add, and this is not a medication, it's a supplement, but we kind of just want our body to do things, but we don't take into account all the stress that we put it under. So we have to kind of be okay sometimes with adding in some extra support. So for me, I'm still doing probiotics. I know a lot of you will ask. I am probably going to switch back over to the Thrive probiotics because I just did another gut health test, and I think it's good to switch up your probiotics from time to time. So I've been on the Microbiome labs. I started Thrive, switched to Microbiome labs. Now I'm going to go back to Thrive with the custom sample because I just sent off another sample about a week and a half ago. So I'll have another video for you guys to talk with you about how my gut microbiome is doing now versus how it was doing in the very beginning when I was just strict carnivore, all these new additions that I've made. So I'll have a full video with that coming soon, but I really wanted to talk about this protein thing because I think a lot of people could be struggling to eat a lot of protein. And it is so good for you. It is a building block for your body, and it will help you with satiety. So if I can help you guys to maybe get that protein up a little bit, maybe the struggle with weight, struggle with satiety, struggle with health will not be as severe. So I hope that this was helpful, not too confusing. I'm open to chat with you guys in the comments below. I would also love to know your experience with protein. Have you been able to eat a lot with no consequence? Do you have to take it down? Do you have to be more careful with it? Let me know in the comments below what your experience was, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks again for watching. Bye.